I think SVU is one of the most socially oriented shows on television today. In the past there was West Wing or ER, but those shows are, gone. And we try to cover issues that most other television shows won't touch. And so I was at an event that Mariska held last spring for her foundation, Joyful Heart, which is a foundation that brings women who are abused to a place where they can go and share what's happened with them and begin the healing process. And I heard a lot of stories from these women that they shared with us in the audience. And one of them was a story about a woman who had been raped and so terrified to leave her home that the guy would find her because he threatened her and stole her driver's license. He knew her name, he knew where she lived, and I said to Mariska, that's going to be the basis of an episode, and we're going to show why it took so long to get this guy, because rape kits aren't always opened around the country. So we wrote an episode that really dealt with that problem, and in New York, they weren't able to get this guy because of the statute of limitations. He had raped her, but it had been over 10 years ago, so they couldn't get him. But we found out that he had been raping people around the country, and so Mariska goes to Chicago, Detroit, and ultimately LA, which is where we are today, and on a quest to get cities to open their rape kits. So what does it mean when a city doesn't open a rape kit? A rape kit has the DNA evidence from the crime. It means that that perp could be out there on the street still just because of some bureaucratic snafu, and no one is bothering to find out what's going on opening the kits. So we wanted to do this show just to bring the public's attention to it, and there's no better way than through Mariska. And then we thought, well, if we're going to come to LA and shoot, and it so happens it corresponds to the time Mariska's here for the Emmys, which we're very grateful for, to have her 7th in a row, that first we were going to do it with a female cop. And so we were talking to a couple of people, and then we thought, wait a minute, Law and Order Los Angeles is going to start. Why don't we write this for Skeet Ulrich's character and just bring him into it? And it would be like a really cool way to introduce his character before the show airs, so that you see him in action and then you'll see him on the show. So that's how it evolved, and we thought, wow, we can just do both those things. So I went to Dick Wolf and I said, hey, do you want us to write Skeet into our show with Mariska? And he said, do I? Yeah, do it. So that's how it all came about, and we're really happy with the results. Well, Mariska gets literally thousands of emails and letters from survivors who say, I saw something on the show, it gives me hope, I can come forward, I'm so inspired by a cop who cares. And so giving that message to people out there saying, you went through a very traumatic experience, then you went through an experience of having to relive it when a rape kit is done, which really is quite invasive. Our show tells the audience that these women's lives are really at stake here, and their emotional lives are at stake, and that it makes a difference to bring these stories to the public's attention. And so I'm sure that we'll hear from people yet again saying that, it's really touched their soul when they've watched the show. Well, one, it's money. It costs money to do DNA kits, and so there are a lot of different problems that are pulling the interests of council people and police chiefs, and so they just say, well, we'll get to it. But you just can't always get to it. You've got to do it now. And I think it's like something where the victims often have been very quiet, very ashamed, and now victims are not that way, and we're a small, hopefully, part of that to say, it's not your fault, you shouldn't be ashamed, the person who did this should be ashamed. And so by directing, as Mariska says, a light onto this subject, it suddenly now gains attention, and people do say, hey, that's not right. Why are we doing this? We'll just have to find the money, or we'll have to move it somewhere else.